thing I want to share is just a piece of feedback that I got last week, which is going to help shape the first thing I'm going to talk about. And really the second part is my editing and proofreading. We'll get there. That's the more the dyslexic ADD side of the conversation, which, like I said last time, I've struggled with my whole life, and I'm a terrible speller. I try my best, but you're not going to fix that overnight. It's been 38 years, and thank God for spell check, is all I'm going to say. But the top is what I think is more important. Is the information was excellent, but I don't think the name of the course is accurate. We're calling this Developing Toughness in Children. And I want to get to that. The first 2 weeks, I really considered foundational. All right. So toughness is a big part of this class, and we're going to get there today. And we're going to continue to talk about toughness. But when I thought about toughness, when Charlie and Megan asked me to do this class, and we started thinking about, okay, what do I want to do? To me, what we went over last 2 weeks, which is kind of talking about watching your kids and giving them room to make mistakes and make their own choices. And we talked about helping them be ignited and find their own passions. To me, that's all foundational. Without that, no matter how well your kid is doing, there can be a crash. And no matter how well things are going, there can be a crash, because if the foundation isn't strong, then things can look good in the time being, but you're kind of setting yourself up for future failure. So a lot of what we talked about in the first 2 classes, I consider foundational. And today we'll get into a little more of a traditional understanding, like definition of toughness. All right. So now let's get to toughness. And once we find the thing that we love, now it's time to crush it. I mean, let's get after it. And I'll kind of keep going back to this theme, but I've enjoyed the last couple of weeks, and it's a lot of kind of feel good stuff. But if you see me coach, I am an intense individual on the coach. I mean, I expect 6-year-olds to keep up with 18-year-olds. And if you bounce the ball when I'm talking, we might do 200 push-ups. And there is toughness built into everything we do. And but it's all purposeful, and it's toughness, not necessarily in a style that you think of as toughness. My number one goal is to get children to be independently tough. All right. One thing that is very clear to me after coaching for as long as I'm coaching, it's something that I remember as myself, and I regret this, is I worked harder when the coaches were watching. There were certain people that I would work harder in front of. And then you ask yourself, well, what does that mean? Well, it means you're working hard for someone else. You're not working hard for yourself. You're not individually tough. You're letting somebody else bring the best out of you. And after coaching for 15 years, I consider myself very good at bringing the best out of other people. But my goal is to get them to bring the best out of themselves. And I think parenthood falls into a similar category, where yes, we need to get our hands in there. We need to get dirty. We need to make things happen. We need to bring the best out of our children. But that is temporary. And in fact, it can be very harmful when kids start relying on other people to be at their best. So I'm only at my best when mom or dad or a certain coach or a certain teacher is there to give me the motivation I need. And when they're not there, I go from a 10 to a 0, or even a 10 to an 8. And to me, the ultimate goal of success when it comes to coaching and parenting is, what is the child going to do when you're not around? What are they going to do when they leave your house? You get 18 years of every single day, all year parenting, and then they go to college, and then they get a job, and then it's kind of completely out of your control. One of my board members at Steady Buckets, a good friend of mine, is a graduate from West Point. And when we talk about Steady Buckets and the kind of the growth of the organization, he's told me this story many times, but he says at West Point, 50% of your grade as a leader, you get judged on how the team performs when you're not there. So 50% of the grade at West Point is they take the leader off the field, out of the equation. You already got your months to work with your team. Now let's take you out of the equation. And if the team fails, you failed as a leader. If the team succeeds, you succeed as a leader. All right. So West Point is defining success of leadership is how well the team performs without the influence of the leader. And that's a key point to parenting as well, because ultimately the things that scare us the most, the things that keep a parent up at night, are really the things that we don't see. What is the decision your child is going to make when you are not there? They are not trying to impress you. In fact, they're trying to impress their friends, which brings in a whole nother influence. And are they tough enough to make the decision that they're supposed to make without the influence of the coach or the teacher or the parent? All right. So I went into 3 columns, and you're kind of getting to know my style and the way I want to present things here. Column 1, I have soft coaching. I call soft coaching cheerleading. All right. Cheerleading is really selling. All right. It's becoming reliant on motivation. And no doubt kids need it. They thrive on it. All right. But it's also a slippery slope, because if they rely on it, it can be a bad thing. Right? If children only perform at their best when somebody is there clapping their hands saying, you can do it, you're so great, if they need that emotional lift to even step foot on the field, imagine you take that emotional lift out and now they feel like they're incapable. All right. So soft coaching and cheerleading, motivating, uplifting, rah-rah speech. I love a good rah-rah speech. All right. But if a team needs a rah-rah speech to be a good team, they're not a good team. All right. That rah-rah speech is supposed to be putting you over the top. But it's not something that you rely on every time, because when you rely on it every time, it also starts to fall on deaf ears. That same rah-rah speech that motivated you and got you jumping out of your seat the first 2 or 3 times, eventually you go, not really feeling it today. So as a coach, if I give the rah-rah speech and I tell the kids how great they are and I motivate them and I energize them and man, they crushed it and what a great workout, that is temporary. And there's nothing wrong with starting there to get the train moving, get some momentum, right? Soft coaching and cheerleading is great to get the body moving. It's great to start, all right? But at some point you need to start rely on self-motivation. Not cheerleading, but something that comes from the child, from inside of them, not from outside, right? Our voice is always an outside voice. No matter how much we love them, no matter how much we're connected as family, we are different people. And our voice will always be an outside voice. Even as a 38-year-old, now parent, I run my own business. When I hear my parent's voice, it's an outside voice. And I think of it as an outside voice, all right? When I'm at my best is when things are coming from me. When I'm at my best is when I'm hearing their voice translate through me, and it becomes my own voice. So the idea can originate somewhere else. But if it's not internalized by the child or the player or the employee or whoever it is, we want that voice to become their own voice so they can make it theirs and not rely on the outside. All right. I'm going to skip the middle and jump over to hard coaching, truth telling. Not just truth, but telling, right? So I kind of broke that into selling and telling. We tend to either sell our kids, meaning, come on, you got to eat your vegetables because don't you want to be big and strong? We're selling broccoli. Man, broccoli will make you stronger. And if the kid ain't buying, the kid ain't buying. And then we also say, we tell them, you have to eat your vegetables. So we tend to either sell or tell, all right? And this is a conversation I had with Charlie, and Megan, the co-CEOs of Next Jump, and their approach to that is they say, make them thirsty, right? There's an old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. They say, well, the trick is to get the horse thirsty for that knowledge, for that activity, all right, for broccoli, thirsty to make the right decision. Selling and telling is a lot different than getting your child to make the right decision. All right. So then the last I said, it's a risk. I see both of soft coaching and hard coaching. They both have worth, but they tend to be risky because the hard coaching as a parent, it very often turns into parent versus child. Right? And the child feels like they have no choice. And then they rebel. And when you sell, they might go, okay, I'll do it. But okay, I'll do it with a shrug is very temporary. If they're telling you, okay, I'll do it with a shrug, they ain't doing it when you're not there. So selling and telling is very temporary, and it's not getting us to our ultimate goal, which is for them to make the independent right decision. All right. So a little bit on toughness and my style as a coach. All right. I believe very strongly in the power of the emotionless count. I'm going to show you a video in a little bit. You'll get a sense of how I coach. All right. But I love throwing big challenges out at kids. And then all I do is I count. Parents say, how did you get my kid to do? We did 1,000 repetitions of a certain exercise earlier this week. It's about a 20-minute video. I had about 30 kids doing it. All right, 1,000 repetitions. How did they do that? I said, I don't know. I just counted. I stayed out of their way. I made it their own decision. All right. You want them to choose to continue. You want them to be thirsty. And the last thing I wrote at the bottom, where I kind of tied this all together, I think it's a really cool thing about Olympics. In all pro sports, the coaches get rings. The coaches get part of the success. In the Olympics, the coaches don't get medals. All right. And the reason I write that is it's all about them doing it. And as a coach, really what you want to do is you want to set them up for success, and then you want to step back and watch. They get the credit when they fail. We're there to support them. When they succeed, we're proud of them. But ultimately, coaches don't get medals. It's not a team sport in terms of equality of worth. We are there to support them. And I think very often when parents coach kids, it turns into a equal kind of, we're in this together with my voice is worth the same as your voice or more. And really what we want to do is we want to train them so that we can take a step back and they can be successful without us. All right. I'm going to show a video real quick if I can make this work. I think I can. I'm going to share my screen. I just want to show you a kid struggling through. We were doing 100 push-ups. But actually, we did 800 push-ups. And a lot of the kids told me the next day they finished the 1,000 and did the extra 200 on their own. We ran out of time. But we were going for 1,000 push-ups. And this is, I think, the third or fourth set that we were doing. And I want you to just watch and see kind of the way I coach. 60. $61, $62. Now I started filming right when he started struggling. All right, and what I like about this video is you can see him even look into the camera just right there. Kind of saying, Coach, I'm struggling. Now I don't know, it's right here. Can I get some motivation? Can you see that I'm struggling and maybe we don't do quite so many? All right. And as a parent, when you see this as a parent or a coach, it's just so gut-wrenching to just say, you know what, be quiet. All right, I've got to know this kid and I care about him. And there's a big part of me wants to say, come on, Jonathan, you can do it. All right. But I fought that urge. All right. And I just want to show you how he reacts to the silent count of just, hey, I'm not giving you anything. I'm here for you only in that I'm going to count every rep, and I'm not going to walk away, and I'm not going to stop until you finish. I don't care if it takes all day.
67.
I'm here to count. You're here to do.
68. 69. 70. 71. 72. 73, 74,
'Right there, I love what's going on right there. All right, first there was another coach. Where are you? Are you kidding me moment? Right there, looked right into the camera. Coach, do you see how much I'm struggling? Can I get some support? But then in this moment, this is my favorite part, is what is he thinking? Put yourself in his shoes right now. Not yet, right around here. There's a commitment to self going on.
95,
There's a self-empowerment going
96,
on when he takes that kind of
77,
peaceful moment to reset
78,
himself and say, I
79,
can do this, right?
80.
It's a lot different than a coach saying, you can do this.
You on?
When an
82,
individual says to themselves, I can do this, it becomes their truth,
83,
not my truth.
84,
And just giving him a little opportunity. There's something really empowering of
85,
saying, I'm not going
86,
anywhere. I'm not going to help you, all right? But I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay with you until it's over, and I'm just going to count.
87, 88, 89, 90. '91, '92, '93, '94, '95, '96, '97, '98, '99, 300. All right, cool. That's it. Get your ball. Start doing your ball handling again. That's 300. We're gonna see how many we can do tonight. But here we. All right, let me come back to my screen. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I'm struggling with, and then we'll make it more about you guys. And a lot of this is going to get into the conversation, I'm sure. No matter what the questions are, I'll kind of continue to go over some of these thoughts. There's a conversation I had with Charlie and Megan just about last week's class, and Charlie goes into this idea of, it's really what we're talking, this idea of your happiness is the most important part, the most important thing to both of us. However, where the rubber meets the road is short-term versus long-term, right? It's very easy to agree with your child on, you want to be happy and I want you to be happy. But happiness usually falls into 2 categories, happy now or happy later. And kids tend to be much more focused on happy now. I want to be happy now. Charlie writes in this something about discipline. What does he say? Basically, he says it's so rare for a kid to be into their future. It seems like a world away. All right. They tend to be really into their present. All right. And then I said, yeah, I love what he said, this idea of short-term and long-term. I said, it's really what it's all about. All right. Smart decision-making really comes in terms of short-term versus long-term. All right. But the best activity your child can do is that activity that's a positive for both short-term and long-term. Those activities do exist. So finding an activity that's good for short-term and long-term happiness is the best. Now, that's impossible for everything. So when you can find that, I like broccoli, I love how broccoli tastes, it makes me happy now and it's good for me later. What about ice cream? Right? What about ice cream? It tastes great. I love ice cream, but it's not great for me and my future. All right. What I think is fascinating, and I think parents don't do enough of this, we'll see if I could put my money where my mouth is with my own child. But I write it then, I say, for example, let the kid eat ice cream all they want. Let them eat anything they want and explain to them what healthy eating means, why healthy eating is important. I believe you can do this with a kid as young as 5 or 6 years old. Now, they might choose to eat ice cream regardless. But I think a 5 or 6-year-old understands that the concept of healthy versus unhealthy. And you let them choose. All right, my thesis would be that a lot of kids would eat ice cream for 2 days, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 2 months. And eventually, once you give them that choice, they go, you know what? I actually really I care about myself and I don't want to be unhealthy. So I'm going to choose not to eat ice cream, or I'm going to choose to eat something more healthy. All right, so that kind of plays into choice of long-term, short-term, and kind of the nuances between the two, and figuring out when is it okay to make a short-term happiness decision and when is it not okay. That goes back into the idea of a safety net we talked about. All right, so kind of a separate idea I just wanted to get on to present today, and then I'm going to get to the Q&A in 2 minutes. This is a chart on young music students and what determines success.
All right. And the idea behind this is they asked the kids, do you see yourself playing a musical instrument for just a couple years, for 5 to 10 years, or your whole life? Basically, a short-term commitment, a medium-term commitment, and a long-term commitment. And what the study showed is that that was the best way to judge a musician's improvement, a child musician's improvement. Actually had very less to do with time spent. So I think high was 90 minutes or more a week, and low was 20 minutes more a week. All right. The child who saw themselves playing music for their whole life as an amateur, just for fun, but I'll always play music in some shape or form, 20 minutes of practice was better than 90 minutes of practice from the child who thought they would only play for a couple years. When I played the piano as a young kid, I never once thought I would do it for life. I didn't like it. I always begged my parents out of it. I regret that. But at the time, I had no understanding that I would regret it. My vision of my future self did not believe music was important. So that vision of self, that vision of future self, how does your child see him or herself in the future, is more important than actual time commitment. The quote I like in here is, it's all about their perspective of self. At some point very early on, they had a crystallizing experience that brings the idea to the fore that says, I am a musician. The idea is like a snowball rolling down a hill. It gathers momentum. If you believe you're going to do something for your whole life, you will do it seriously. You will commit to it. If you think you're only going to do it for a year or two, you won't take it seriously. So I think a lot of these things where parents and children clash over short-term, long-term, where the parent says, no, this is very important to your future, and I really want you to do it. And the child says, I don't think it's important to my future, and I don't want to do it. The miscommunication is not about future happiness, long-term happiness. The conversation is, what is long-term happiness? What do I see myself doing as an adult? When I'm a child, what will I be doing 30 years from now? Because if I see myself doing it 30 years from now, I'll take it seriously. All right, real quick, I'm actually going to, well, maybe I'll speak, I'm doing it again. I see myself doing it again, that we're going to start running out of time. So I can do this quick enough. I'll give myself 5 more minutes, then we'll do Q&A, because I really do want to get to your questions. These are some questions from last week. I read both the chat and the feedback, and this is some of what I was hearing kind of stood out to me. One is, my child says it's too hard, but she wants to get better. But when I provide encouragement, she doesn't want to try. This is what I kind of talked about earlier. Encouragement can work both ways, because the opposite is always implied. When you tell someone you can do it, you're actually putting in their head, no, I can't. All right? When I talked about the emotionless count, I never once says you can do it, because I'm giving him an opportunity in the back of his head to say, no, I can't. I don't want to plant that seed. All right. It's not about you can or you can't. It's that you will. And then I'm going to stay with you until the end. So encouragement can be very successful, right? You can get a lot out of motivating the child and getting their spirits high and making them feel invincible. But you also have to be careful with encouragement. I read, one of my favorite books is a boxing book. It's a fighting book about training fighters. All right, and one of the trainers says you should never tell a fighter when they're winning not to get knocked out, right? It's the last round, just stay on your feet, watch out. He's going to try to knock you out so he can. You planted the seed. He said, anytime you tell a fighter not to get knocked out, they get knocked out. I've had the exact same experience in basketball. You're up 5 or 6 points with 30 seconds left, and you say, just don't turn the ball over. Turnover. Now you lost the game. Planting the seed is a very dangerous mental condition where you just kind of plant it. And I'm going into depth, but by saying you can, you have to be careful that you're not planting actually you can. Because kids are also very aware that as adults, we're positive and we tell them they're great and we tell them how they can do anything. And they're actually smarter than we give them credit. And they go, I'm not actually as great as you say I am. So now, are you BSing me? It feels like you're BSing me. And that's when it can have the reverse result that you're intending. Another question, how to get my kid back into sports now that he's a tween. He played, he's not playing anymore. Now it's tough to get back into it. I would say make it fun again. And that's tough. I get it. And a lot of these answers, I don't want them to sound like I'm making a very complex issue simple. All right. And I'll get to kind of conversation. I think it's important to, if you're having this kid say, look, I just want you to have fun and play. All right. And I wrote kind of the similar, are you playing for life or are you playing to be a pro? All right. Most kids quit around 12 or 13 years old. It's also when they realize that they're not going to be a professional player. All right. I remember very clearly being 12 years old, the movie Hoop Dreams came out. It was about these two kids in Chicago who were both phenomenal players, way better than I ever was. And it was a heartbreaking story about how they didn't make it. I remember being 12 years old going, I'm not going to make the NBA. For the first time in my life, I realized I was not going to make the NBA. And I remember saying, but do I want to keep playing? I love playing. I have my friends. I enjoy it. It's my favorite thing in life. All right. And I'm really thankful for that moment to kind of get through the idea of I'm not going to play in the pros anymore. A lot of kids, they play and they think every kid thinks they're going to make the NBA. They think they're going to play a professional baseball. My mom just recently dug up an autobiography I wrote in 4th grade. And I said, I wanted to be a major, this before I fell in love with basketball. I wanted to be a major league pitcher. Right? So everyone thinks they're going to, and then you realize it's not going to happen. Well, do you quit or do you stay because you love it? And I would say the best way to get a kid back into sports is to say, let's just do it for fun. Let's not think about winning games or making the varsity team or playing in college or being a professional. Why did we play in the first place? Because it's fun and because we do it with our friends. All right. Another question, and there was a long conversation on this, of an 11-year-old who has little interest in academics, but the siblings were great students and very successful and going off to big colleges. And I think there's something about rejecting family traditions that's very common. Younger siblings very often don't want to do what their older siblings do. They tend to either want to do it 100% or they don't want to do it at all, is my experience. Either they idolize their older siblings and they want to do everything they do, or they want nothing to do with them. It kind of falls into that quote I gave about, just proving that they're not a piano kid. I'm not this. A lot of younger siblings hate when people say that they look like or act like their older sibling. All right, so I think there's something there. Now, academics are obviously very important, and it's not you can't say, oh, your brother and sister are good good students, so you don't have to be. It's more complex than that. But I think you have to be careful doing comparisons. All right, and expectations are very dangerous with kids, because again, expectations means no choice. If you expect me to be a great student, I don't have the choice to be a great student. If you expect me to be a great basketball player, I don't have the choice to play baseball instead. Too much pressure, right? And then that's when people kind of opt out, all right? I wrote at the bottom, people always tell me I'm a basketball coach. I know a lot of people in the community. Everyone tells me how great Cyrus is going to be this great basketball player. I actually hate when people say that. I hate it for a couple reasons. First of all, I hope he does love the game and we have a shared passion. All right. And I think that people telling him how great he is, if anything, I think it's going to scare him away from it. So I'm kind of like, shh, don't plant that seed in his head. But more importantly, as much as I love basketball, I don't care if he loves basketball. I want him to find his own passion. I really don't like when people put my 17-month-old child into a box that he's going to be good at something. But I spend every day, all day with him. I don't know what he's going to be good at. How dare you tell me what he's going to be good at? And I know they do it out of good intentions and kind of they think it's a compliment. But personally, I don't like it. And I think kids very often don't like it when they're being told that they have to be like their sibling or their parents. It makes them feel like less of an individual. All right. And then the last one I wrote down that's popped out to me was, what do you do when your child says no before even trying? And my answer to that would be, why don't you go into some situations where trying is off the table? We're going to watch. We're not going to participate. I want to expose you to some different things in life, but actually you don't have the option to do it right now, right? We're not gonna, you can't, let's go watch that Little League game, but no, you can't play. You're not on a team. If you want to join a team, we can talk about that. And now you've shifted the conversation. What we really want in these, with kids who are having a hard time doing anything, especially nowadays, I mean, we'll talk about quarantine and coronavirus. I mean, just a completely different challenge that makes parenting even more difficult. All right. But what we really want is the child to come to us and say, Mom, Dad, I want to do this. Okay, let's do it. Versus, hey, come on, kid, let's do it. And then it's just so easy for them to say, not right now. I don't feel like it. And I talked about last time, is it your thing or their thing? The second you tell a kid, come on, let's do it, it's now your thing you're inviting them to. What you really want is for them to have their thing that they say, hey, can you come bring me to my thing? Not because you want me to go, but because I want to go. All right. And these are shifts that you can make with very, you can be a little sneaky with it. You can say, come on, kid, but you just kind of have to hold back. Just like I talked about holding back with encouraging Jonathan. You just kind of have to hold back because it could be the difference of 2 or 3 seconds. The kid is about to say, all right, Dad, let's do it. Right before the kid says, come on, Dad, let's do it, the dad says, come on, kid, let's do it. And the kid then says, nah, I don't want to. So just by kind of planting pushing them in a direction, exposing them to simple things, letting ignition take place, letting them decide what they want and what they don't want, and then making yourself available so when they want to do it, you become someone who helps them get there. Reminds me of the definition of a coach. Why is a coach called a coach? A coach is called a coach after a carriage, a horse-drawn carriage. A coach is something that gets somebody from where they are to where they want to be. That's a big part of parenting. We want to get you from where you are to where you want to be. All right, but you got to tell me where that is. Because if I tell you where it is, it's not where you want to be, it's where I want you to be. All right. Just to give a little worksheet, anyone who wants to do this with their child, if anyone feels really stuck with their child, just make some categories. What is something that's important to you as a child? All right, what's important to you? And then list 3 things. And then these are the things that are important to me as your parent. And we list 3 things. And then what is the best activity where we can practice those things? All right. And that's going to be different for everyone. So I'm not even going to waste time talking about basketball and kind of where that falls into my experience. Other than to say this, when I coach and when I talk to parents about finding their own activities, I want to check these boxes. And I talked about this a little bit last time. Number 1, find something you can get better at. Work on the skill of developing skill. Number 2, leave your comfort zones. Try things that challenge you both mentally and physically. Number 3, outwork them. Right? I use this quote, Kawhi Leonard from he was with the Spurs, now the Clippers. He said, when I was a kid, everyone was in the gym. I was there to get better. Right? So are you there, or are you there working hard with the intention of being great at something? I want you to find something that you can be really great at. 4, have fun. 5, make friends. And 6, I like team competitions because it leads for, it blends in communication and leadership opportunities with everything else. All right, so I went a little longer than I wanted to go, but I've also been told that I can run over a little longer than I'm supposed to. So I'm going to take advantage of that. And I'm going to take my slides down. And it looks like there's some chats coming in. Dana, if you want to kind of pick a question and give someone the mic so we can turn it into a little more of a conversation. I think we have about 15, 20 minutes that we can just kind of make it more personal and more direct to some people's individual situations.
Sure. I see an interesting question from Adina. I don't know if you want to unmute. Oh, I think I am not allowing people to unmute. Sorry, I fixed it. You should be able to unmute now.
Hi. Yeah, my question was, I feel like a hypocrite a lot of times. I will tell my kids to exercise and to eat healthy, and then there I am on the side eating something unhealthy, and I just, I don't know. I feel like a hypocrite when I tell them this, and then, then they don't want to listen to me, and I try to talk them into it, and I don't know.
Yep,
That's it.
I hear you. Say no more. I think that's actually it's a great. First of all, it couldn't be more common, right? But I think it's very important. I think there's a lot of power in let's do this together, right? Kids are aware of hypocrisy big time because they're constantly being told what to do, and they have this very intense radar for hypocrisy, and they don't like it, and they especially don't like it from their parents
Right.
because it turns into it's like, what, are you kidding me? This isn't fair. Kids thrive off fairness. If something's not fair, you will hear about it. So I think it's a great opportunity to, and also if you kind of use that list I showed and say, okay, what are the things that are important to us as a family? And I think it's a great opportunity to use parenthood as self-improvement as an individual, and to say, okay, let's do this together. All right. You know what? And it's always great to be humble and start a conversation with a child as, I'm not perfect. Right. I, I, the way I would approach it is I would tell my child, I would say, Cyrus, I'm concerned you're not eating healthy enough. And I think I've let you down as a parent because I haven't eaten so healthy over the last couple of years. And I want to change that together. First of all, I want to eat healthier for myself, but it's also important to me as a parent because I see you making some of the same mistakes that I made. All right. So even a step further, I would say, can you help me with something? I really want help. I feel like I've let you down. I'm letting myself down. I'm not eating healthy the way I want to. Let's do this together. I want you to help me eat healthier. And the way I want you to help me is we're both going to eat healthy together. All right. And that just changes the conversation from do what I say and I'm going to go do whatever I want because I'm the parent and I'm the boss. And if you don't like it, get a job and move out. And that's not constructive. Right. And it turns it right into, we are a family. We love each other. We're not perfect. I'm not a perfect parent. You're not a perfect child. We want to be better. This is important to my future as an adult and your future as a child. And together we can crush this.
Right. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep. My pleasure.
I see a question from, sorry, I don't know your first name, but your display name is R. Saharan about ice cream, eating healthy.
Yeah, it was about when we let them eat whatever they want. Yes, I agree. Maybe after a month they will come back to broccoli, but after a day they go back to the ice cream. So how do we handle them going back to that? Do we again let them loop through the circle or?
Yeah, so I guess where I'm going with that analogy is, I mean, look, first of all, you can't control what your kids eat when you're not around. So trying to let me go back a little bit, but giving the choice, the end goal of a parent, the thing that's the highest level of success in a parent-child relationship is that the child makes the proper decision without the influence of the parent. That is the highest standard of success from a parent-child relationship. And I'm using diet as a very simple example. I think it actually would be a fun experiment. Like I said, my child's a little too young for this, so you guys knock yourself out and use your children as guinea pigs for me. I'd love to hear how it goes. But when I think about human nature and when I think about kind of how children react to choice and how they react to being told what to do, they actually know what's right. But if they count on you solely for making right-wrong decisions, then they're always going to make the wrong decision. Because if mom and dad don't tell me no, then I guess it was okay. And they're just, right, we always talk about kids pushing limits. They're going to, what can I get away with? What is mom and dad going to let me do versus grandma and grandpa? They spend most of their time figuring out what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. All right. So to say in a simple controlled form, and you in the back, the beautiful thing about being a parent is you always have the end, right? You can do an experiment and say, let's do a week of just saying, eat whatever you want. And but every day talk about how healthy food impacts your body and how unhealthy food impacts your body. And if you see the kid yawning, you say, well, you're tired because you're not eating healthy. Or you say, you know, you didn't play, if they play sports and they didn't play well, you're not playing as well because you're not eating healthy. And now they've turned this thing that used to be very just do what I'm telling you to do, and it makes it more of a personal lifestyle decision. I think we very often don't give children enough credit for making the right decision. We often take that choice away from them and force them into the right decision. And as a result, they make the wrong decision knowing that we're gonna save them if they make the wrong decision. So they always make the wrong decision. And then we're not there and they make the wrong decision and we can't save them. Versus saying, this is your life, this is your body, this is your decision. And then if it becomes a real problem, then you have the ability as a parent to say, I gave you the choice and we need to talk because you're making the wrong choice. Now this is the safety net moment. This is I've given you choice, you've made the wrong choice, and now as a parent, it's my job to step in and say, you know what, that experiment didn't work. Now you're gonna no more ice cream. But is 3-4 days, and ice cream is completely just arbitrary example, but 3 days of ice cream is not gonna negatively impact your child's health.
True.
3 years of ice cream, of course, that sometimes you have to say enough is enough, this didn't work. But to give this experiment and just constantly say, okay, you want to eat that, but you're not gonna be healthy. Or for instance, you know, kids that want to play professional sports, and a lot of kids do, not all of them obviously, but to say you can't want to make the NBA and eat unhealthy. You just can't, it doesn't make sense. So you can eat healthy if you want, but I don't want you to tell me how you're going to play in the NBA anymore, because you're not. You have to make sacrifice in life. And I'm 100% in supporting your goals, but I'm also not going to let you be delusional and think that you can eat whatever you want, not practice, not work out, and still dream of making the NBA. Right? I talk about that in terms of the difference between dreams and goals. Right? I think dreaming is what you do when you fall asleep. Goals are what you do, what you're willing to sacrifice for. All right, and explaining that difference, and then you can catch your kid and you say, you're dreaming again. Ah, that's a goal. I like that. Let's sit down, let's get a pen and paper, and let's make a plan how we can accomplish that goal together.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I see another question from Christopher, which was also seconded by Angela. So I don't know, Christopher, if you want to.
So this is actually Christopher's mommy.
Hi.
That's
Hey,
fine.
Christopher.
Oh, hi. Yeah, we do Coach Mackey's workout a lot. So yeah, Coach Mackey, I have a question. So what do you do when the kids say, you know, oh, you know, I'm already doing my best. I'm already trying my best, but you know they're not really doing their best. You know, they can do better. What do you do with that?
Yeah, I think that I right away I think of at Next Jump they have something called red arrow behavior. It's part of their resiliency training, and that's kind of one of the examples they use as red arrow behavior is the things that we do that make it impossible to coach. So that's an example that I'm very prepared for. You can say you know when, and you have to pick the right moment, right? Right away is not the right moment, but finding the right moment to say, you know, you always tell me you try your best. And when you do that, you make it impossible for me to coach you, to help you, to parent you. Because what do you say to someone who's already trying their best? So you can kind of explain that when you tell me you're trying your best, you're forcing me to accept that I can't help you. And I refuse to accept that as a parent. I know I can help you. And if you listen to me and we're in this together, we can accomplish great things together. But when you tell me that you're trying your best, I mean, first of all, it's just a lie. Nobody ever tries their best. It's impossible. That's something that I'm very clear with my students about. I say, I am asking you to do something impossible. I want you to give me 100% physical and 100% mental energy for the whole practice. And then I tell them, but that's impossible. I just want you to come as close as possible to that as you can come. All right. And when I see them fall out of that, I remind them, come on, mental energy, physical energy. All right. But that's different than I tried my best. What does that mean? Try your best. It means you could not possibly have tried any harder. Well, I'm calling your BS. I think as parents, we got to call BS on our kids sometime and say, I disagree. I've seen you do better. I've seen you try harder. I know what it looks like when you're focused. So when you tell me that that's your best, I refuse to believe that. I know you can do better. And then it's a more fair conversation. That's a tough one, but even just letting the child know that that's a sentence I don't want you to use. I don't want you to say I did my best, because I think you're shortchanging yourself. You're defining your best as something less than what it really is. And as a parent, that makes me uneasy, because I don't want you to go easy on yourself. I don't want you to go through life saying, no matter how things go, at least I tried my best. That's not how life works. And I want you to understand the difference between saying you're trying your best and doing it. So it's all of these are tough conversations. My answers are always going to lean towards honesty. I think having adult conversations with kids is very effective. I think it's, remember, my experience comes as a coach, not as a parent. So call me in 5 years or 10 years and see what my opinion is. It might change, but I find as a coach, it's very effective. Kids respond very well to me because I'm very honest with them. I treat them like adults, even when they're really young. And I think they thrive on that respect. I think really honest, adult-oriented conversations really empower kids. Because like telling somebody exactly the conversation we just had and say, I don't like when you say that, because this is how I feel about that. And this is the challenge that sentence brings into my life as a parent. And then the kids tend to go, oh, that was really cool. They talk to me as an adult. And then it tends to stick in a different way. So it's a lot harder when you're a parent. And sometimes the other thing I would encourage is find that coach or uncle or cousin or babysitter. Some of the messaging that some of the stuff we're talking about here is not best delivered by a parent. Sometimes it's best delivered by a near peer mentor, right? Someone the kid looks up to, because remember what we talked about in week 1 was, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, it doesn't make a sound. If the kid's not hearing you, it doesn't matter how eloquent your speech is. So I think sometimes it can be, you could share that same example with someone else and say, hey, can you talk to him about using this sentence, I tried my best, is really, I think it's really kind of stopping him from being his best. And would you mind having a conversation about how defining your best and always saying you trying your best is not a good approach? And that's sometimes a lot more effective than doing it as a parent and turning it into a confrontation.
How are you on time, Mackie? I see one.
I do have a class at 4 that
Okay.
I'm going to have to jump over to, but I can be a minute later. So I got no problem staying for another 9 minutes. It's fine. I can jump
Okay.
straight to the kids.
Okay. I saw a question from Justin, who is a teen, and then also Molly was interested in hearing the response. So I don't know if Justin, if you want to unmute and ask.
Hi there. So I was just curious. I love the whole choice over expectation. Having the child. I'm sorry. I'm pulling up what I asked. I love having the child make their own decisions, and that makes a lot of sense to me. But how would a parent go about doing this if the child is complacent and nothingness and not really making any decision for themselves? Of course, you wouldn't, again, want to force something, but is there a different approach that a parent could take?
Yeah, again, I really feel strongly in these kind of honest, this is what's on my mind conversation between parents. I think there's, as parents, we tend to want to be Superman, Superwomen type, show no weakness at all costs. right? And I think kids know that, and it makes them trust us less. And then there's this tension between parents and kids where the kid knows you're not happy with something, but they're not exactly sure what that something is. And then they start assuming what it is, and the assumption is wrong, right? Whereas just saying, hey, this is what's bothering me. I really am concerned that you're not trying anything new. I'm in it with you. Let's find that thing. Let's make a list of all the things you don't want to do and all the things you want to do. And if the want to do is empty, let's rank the things that you don't want to do from worst to first. Let's do the thing that you least don't want to do. Let's find something, because I don't want to do anything is unacceptable to me as a parent, right? I refuse to accept that you don't want to try anything new. You just want to watch TV, play video games, sit on the couch. That's off the table. I love you too much. All right, so we're not going to do that. Now, everything else, let's turn this into a conversation. Let's take notes. Let's think about this. Let's approach this like a business would approach a problem. There's a problem with our organization. We're going to go bankrupt in 3 months if we don't fix this. Okay, let's have a meeting and let's figure out what we need to do. Well, you can do the same thing as your child, where you say, look, I'm really concerned. You used to love certain things and now you're refusing to do them. And I'm concerned. And like I said, there are moments where you use your parent card and you say, this is unacceptable to me as a parent. I can't allow you to not have a passion. I can't allow you to not exercise or do well in school. And you can talk about short-term, again, using all these things. And look, your short-term happiness says sit on the couch, but how does that affect your future? And let's talk about this from a very honest perspective, not just me as a parent. And also, I would say, again, sometimes it's so difficult that you're going to have a lot more success having somebody else have this conversation. It could be another person who cares about them, because the emotions running through the child-parent relationship are so high on both ends that you say things you don't mean, they say things they don't mean. This is the paint yourself in a corner conversation we had last week, and the best intentions from both sides end up with no growth. So I'm getting a text from Kanchan actually for the next class. The host from the next basketball class is like, "Where are you, Mac?" So I'm gonna run. But we'll pick this up next time. I still owe an ADHD answer, because that's been a very kind of passion. That's something people are very passionate about, obviously, and it's something I have personal experience in. So let's either, Dana, if you could remind me, let's talk with Charlie and Megan and either make that next class's kind of main topic, or maybe do a one-off and do a kind of just for people that have that as a specific interest, because it feels a little funny to make the whole class geared towards something that might only be 10, 20, 30% of our group. So that's why I've kind of stayed away from it as a main topic. But yeah, I think with a lot of this stuff, just kind of put your cards on the table, be humble, be honest. This is why it's a big deal to me. And let's talk about what's a big deal to you. And let's figure out where we meet in the middle, and let's find an activity that checks all the boxes. It's fun for you in the present, your friends are doing it, you're enjoying it, and it's good for your future. And that's the best activities you can find for your kids, are satisfying both of those, checking both of those boxes, short-term and long-term happiness. All right, so I wish I could stay. It's a lot of fun talking with you guys. I love